Welcome to this week's What's for Dinner video. My name is Ashley and I'm going to be showing you 3 different meal ideas this week. I don't always follow recipes exactly, but if you are interested, I have linked some similar recipes down below. For Sunday night's dinner, I'm going to be showing you some chicken enchiladas. To my Instant Pot, I am just adding 2 large chicken breasts. I'm going to season them up and get ready to cook them. Whenever I want to make shredded chicken, I just put my Instant Pot on 19 minutes on high pressure. So I'm going to get started on my Mexican rice. To a pan, I'm just adding a couple tablespoons of oil, letting that get a little hot and adding 1 cup of white rice. I'm going to let the rice get a little bit toasted before I add the seasonings. So I am adding 1 teaspoon of garlic salt and a half teaspoon of cumin. I'm going to let the flavors infuse into the rice, and you want to make sure you never stop mixing it. So next I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of this tomato base and half a jar of an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce. I do this just to let everything start cooking together before I add the water. So for 1 cup of rice, I like to add 2 cups of water. To make the broth, I add 1 teaspoon of chicken bouillon and 1 teaspoon of tomato bouillon. You want to mix it all together until you think that everything is well combined. And then you're going to turn the heat up to about medium heat until it reaches a rapid simmer. Once it reaches the rapid simmer, you can go ahead, turn the heat down, and put the lid on it. You don't want to open the lid for about 20 minutes. And this is how the rice should come out when it's done. So I'm going to work on my refried beans. I am just emptying a can of beans into a small baking dish. I'm going to add some cheese and put it in the oven at about 350 degrees. Once the chicken was done, I just took it out of my crock pot and I'm just going to shred it on up. So I'm going to get started with making the chicken mixture for the enchiladas. I'm just going to add a couple tablespoons of sour cream, a can of some diced chilies. I'm going to add a little bit of green enchilada sauce, some onion powder, and some garlic salt. I'm also going to add a little bit of cumin and start mixing it up. Now this is all to taste, so you can just add as much seasonings as you want. And then I'm going to add a couple handfuls of cheese and incorporate that. So I'm going to go ahead and start assembling the enchiladas. To the bottom of my 13 by 9 dish, I'm just adding a little bit of some enchilada sauce so it doesn't stick. I always find it easier just to do everything with my hands, although it looks messy. So you want to start off with some warmed tortillas. There's multiple ways to warm your tortillas. I use the microwave mostly. And then I'm just going to add as much mixture as I want to each enchilada and start placing them in the baking dish. And then I like to use a ladle to go ahead and spread as much enchilada sauce on top of the enchiladas. You want to make sure you do coat just about the entirety of the tortilla so it doesn't crisp. And then I'm just going to add as much cheese as I want to the enchiladas. These will go in the oven at 375 degrees for about 25 minutes. And this is how Sunday night's dinner looked once it was done. For Tuesday night's dinner, we had some smothered meatballs and mashed potatoes. So I'm going to start off with the mashed potatoes. My fiance likes mashed potatoes with the skin on it. So what I do is I just cut about half the skin off the potato and then I dice the potatoes up into bite-sized pieces. I make my mashed potatoes in a small saucepan just because there's only 2 of us and I don't like to eat that many carbs. I do try to limit, portion control. So I just chopped up enough that I thought would be good for the night. I did rinse them and then I'm just going to fill the pot with some water. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of salt to the water and get it to a boil. To make my smothered meatballs, the meatballs I'm going to be using are the Costco Kirkland Italian style meatballs. I'm just going to add some barbecue sauce, some soy sauce, and a spoonful of grape jelly. I'm just going to mix that to my best ability, and then I'm going to put it on the burner at about low to medium heat with a lid covering it until they're all cooked through. So once my potatoes were done, I'm just going to drain them and start making my mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes are pretty much self-explanatory, but I'm just going to tell you that I use some heavy cream, I use salt, onion powder, garlic powder, and a little bit of butter. So then I just like to mix them around, taste them, and add what else is needed. The vegetable I'm going to be using for dinner tonight is some frozen green beans. So I did let them thaw a little bit, and now I'm just going to season them. I do look like I am heavily seasoning them, which I am. I am an avid seasoner, but I didn't add any salt itself. The only salt was in my everything seasoning. I like to go heavy on garlic powder and onion powder. And then these will go in a 400-degree oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. This is how it all looked when it was done. It was just a simple, easy dinner, not something that I rave over, but I did like it. The next dinner I'm going to be showing you, I made some lemon garlic chicken with some seasoned rice. So the first thing I'm going to be doing, I'm going to cut my chicken breasts into thirds. This is one of the biggest chicken breasts I have ever seen, so I was able to get thirds out of it. For tonight's dinner, I'm just going to use 2 of the slices, and I'm going to cut them both in half. I'm going to season both sides of the chicken with some onion powder, garlic powder, and some adobo seasoning. For the coating, I'm going to use some flour, and I'm just going to season the flour with some of the same seasonings, the adobo seasoning, some onion powder, and some garlic powder. I'm just going to dredge each piece of chicken front and back in the flour mixture. I am just going for more of a light coating, so I'm not using an egg to bind the mixture. Again, I always just use my hands because I think it's easier. So I'm going to get started on my seasoned rice. I am just adding 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of water. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of chicken bouillon, and 1 teaspoon of onion powder. I'm just going to mix that all around until it is well combined. I'm going to bring the heat up to a light boil, and then once it is starting to boil, I will put a lid on it and turn the heat down. For tonight's vegetable, I'm going to be using some broccoli, so I did just spray it with a little bit of canola oil, and now I am just seasoning it with some garlic and herb seasoning and my adobo seasoning. This will go in the oven at about 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. So I'm going to get started on cooking the chicken. I am just adding like a tablespoon of vegetable oil and a tablespoon of butter. Once that heats up, I'm just going to add the chicken to the pan. Since these are relatively thin pieces of chicken, they will cook fast and you don't want to dry them out. So then I am just going to flip them once they start to turn a little bit brown. Once they are all the way cooked through, I'm just going to remove them to a plate and get working on the sauce. To the pan, I'm just going to add a little bit of butter and some garlic. I'm going to let that cook up until it's fragrant, and then I'm going to add 1 cup of chicken bouillon and water mixed together, which makes chicken broth, and then I'm going to add some lemon juice. Once the liquid reduces by half, I'm just going to return the chicken to the pan and drizzle the sauce over the chicken. So I just served all of this over some rice with some broccoli. This is how everything looked once it was done. Thank you so much for watching this week's What's for Dinner video. Make sure you come back next week for another one.